what is the right time for someone to consider paid ads?
I personally think that ads are a great accelerant for a business.
Now, we hate all these metrics that you're talking about, and I'm ready for paid ads.
Don't do ads until you have a really good idea of your market.
So I've tried to run ads for this podcast on 4 different platforms.
Yeah. Unless you've done it before, I wouldn't recommend it.
Should someone starting out worry about a funnel, or should they just stick to a landing page?
Great question. Starting off, you should stick with a landing page.
There's so many business gurus who talk about build Canva templates and like use that for lead gen.
My 2 biggest clients would probably spend $25,000 this month. It's 90% of what we do is images, Canva images, and it makes them money.
Hey guys, welcome back to Funds and Founders. Today we have on Mubariz. Long for Moby. But you're in the paid ad space. You're doing a bunch of stuff. We'll plug you real quick. I have this joke that retention on YouTube is 4 or 5 minutes. So let's plug you. Where can people reach out? What can you help with? Who should be reaching out? And then we'll get into it.
Sounds good. Moby Hayat. You can find me on LinkedIn. I help founders get more leads and make more money with paid ads.
Sweet. A question that I wanted to ask and a question that I wanted to understand is, what is the right time for someone to consider paid ads? And maybe you can generalize, give an example, whatever you think makes sense. I was listening to a bit the other day, or some podcast, and they were like, founders take pride in being a bootstrap company nowadays. But in reality, if paid ads is working for you, I put in 10, I get 20, 30, 40. Why are you not just putting as much as you can in that area, right? So that's just something I heard recently. But who should be doing paid ads? When is the right time to think about paid ads? And if you want to generalize, maybe talk about CPG, SaaS, whatever you think makes sense. We'll go from there and then we'll...
Got it. Sounds good. I personally think that ads are a great accelerant for a business. They're a horrible initiator.
Okay.
If you don't already have traction in some form, whether it's referrals, it's organic content, it's networking, it's some way going towards ads and like working with somebody like a media buyer who you're paying a fee for, or having to learn it yourself and then paying ad spend like $2,000-$3,000 a month, most of the time it's a horrible idea. I think ads are a great accelerant. For example, if you're getting referrals and you know your market a little bit and you know what people react to when their eyes light up when you say something specific, that's when you know you have something that you can now add fuel to the fire. For example, I just took on a client. We started spending $1,500 a month, and they already had landing pages. They already had a big Facebook group. They already had traction. We were spending $1,500 a month 5 months ago. It's what, the 15th of this month? We've spent $50,000 this month alone, and it's profitable only because, not because I'm a great media buyer, I am, but because they had traction, they had success, and they had product market fit way before. So I'd say, hold on. Don't do ads until you have a really good idea of your market and sort of your offer.
Makes sense. Expanding on that thought, you said product market fit, you said referrals, you said traction. Let's give me an example, or let's help help people visualize. What does that mean, right? Like, what traction, what product market fit, what do you think that means, or in your perspective, how do you define that to qualify someone into, oh, hey, what you have is ready for ads, right? Yeah. Random example that I'm trying to think of is, let's say I have an agency, right? I ended up running into 5-10 clients. I delivered for them, but I did a little bit of a different service for every one of them, right? Now, in reality, I have 10 clients. I'm making 10, 20K a month. Great, I can go target the same client. But to your point, you said offer, product market fit. Try to just distill this down into how can someone quantifiably see some metrics and be like, okay, I think I'm ready for this.
Got it.
I don't know if that makes sense. It's not a long-winded question.
It 100% makes sense. I think it's more qualitative than quantitative. And it is purely, I'd say it's called message market fit. And you have a gut feeling that you kind of know who your market is. For example, you can define the job titles or the industries and functions. Let's say I'm targeting dentists. I know that my market is dentists. Boom. I have the market. Or I am targeting people in demand generation, directors and VPs. Boom. I have a market. Or if you're very B2C, you would say men who like running and are between the age of 35 to 55. So that is the market side. And it's not like you have numbers to prove I crushed this market. It's like when you talk to them when people refer you to them, when they come to you inbound, you're like, these are the kinds of people that are like, oh, they like what I have to say. For example, I have never run my own ads until now because I know VPs of marketing, directors of marketing, VPs of demand generation, directors of demand generation are the market for me. So that's the market side. It's really like, if you're telling me about your company, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. You have
Makes sense.
Market fit.
Makes sense.
On the message part is, what do you say to them, or what do they say to you about their problems that make you be like, I hear the same things all the time. For example, when do ads come in? It's not when the business is broke. It's when referrals and relationships are just not driving the same amount of business. That's when I know the person that I'm talking to, who might have spent $20,000 on marketing a year, is now like, I've grown the business. I need to grow more because my previous sources are all just
drying
done.
up. Yeah.
And I would say that message part is after you have 10, 20, 30 conversations, which make you feel that this market has told me again and again, like, they kind of want this one thing, or I say this one thing to this market, it works. And then you take those learning into ads and you work with somebody and they're like, this is the market we're going to go after. And these are the first 10 things we're going to say to them and test it out. That's when you're like, okay, I can go this direction.
Makes sense. Okay, I like that. So thinking about that in more detail, right? So, quick detour for founders who are running companies, CPG, SaaS, whatever. What is the 80-20 of understanding paid ads, right? So let's say I have market fit traction. I know we hit all these metrics that you're talking about, and I'm ready for paid ads.
Yeah.
What are my options? Should I do it myself? Should I hire consultants? Should I go to firms? Give me rough price ranges. I'm not going to hold you to anything, like just ballparks of, right?
Yeah.
Hey, like this is what this will cost you. This is what this will cost you. Let's just talk through that, because I feel like for someone who doesn't understand paid ads, there is a lot going on. There's so many channels, ad format, creatives. I have to know how to do copywriting. I have to know how to structure, like there's just a treasure trove of information.
Yeah.
So for someone who's now hit all these metrics and they're ready to run paid ads, what's the 80-20?
Yeah.
What should they know, not know? And then as a follow-up, how should they attack this based on where they're at? And
So the question is kind of like, should you learn it yourself? And what's the 80-20? The question, should you do it yourself, is also the same thing as, should you be scared enough of paid ads that you're going to lose money that you should hire somebody else? And this might seem biased because I do this, but I have seen people lose ridiculous amounts of money on paid ads. And it's scary. I saw somebody, really smart people, engineers who spent $30,000 on ads in 3 months. They got 2 leads and they got 0 meetings. I've seen somebody, I just audited an ad account with the CMO. They had spent $41,000 on Google Ads. They had 1,600 conversions on Google. Their actual conversions were 78, so 4%. So it is very easy to lose money. And also, ads are annoying. Like, have you ever looked at Facebook Ads Manager?
yeah,
It's a mess. You look at it, you're like, what is
I've
happening?
tried to run ads for this podcast on 4 different platforms.
Yeah.
But no, I'll tell you a story about it.
I want to hear that, because you look at it, you're like, what the hell is going on? It is confusing. I learned ads I locked myself in a room and I watched video after video after video of the same person, and I took notes and notes. So should you do it yourself? Unless you've done it before, I wouldn't recommend it. You should probably find somebody that you trust who will give you like a performance thing. The second thing, which is what matters in ads, I'd say I break it down into this, like, ads are basically, you have an audience that you've said, this is who you're going to go after. You show them an ad, which is basically an offer, a headline, a message. You bring them to a landing page, which hopefully has a form that they convert on, and then they become a lead. That's all. Now it gets more complicated. Should you do video? Should you do website traffic? Should you do website conversions? How do you set up the pixel? What kind of video? How long? How much should you budget for? What if something goes wrong? Yada, yada, yada. That's not as important. The 20% is, who is your market? What are the top 3-4 things you think you'll say to them to get them to pay attention? And how are you going to get them to convert to a lead on a form?
Got it.
That's it.
Got it. And the reason I ask this is there's so much content out there about funnels, lead gen, ads,
Marketing.
pixels, right?
Yeah.
Like, as in, like, I feel like every third business person on YouTube or Instagram or anything nowadays says, oh yeah, just run Facebook ads and test that idea and track conversions on a landing page. And I'm like, in theory, that is really easy for someone to say who has done this before.
Yeah.
I have opened up ads and I can still get through it. I've been able to run ads and stuff, but the full circle of all these ad platforms, the ad algorithms learn from the signals you give it.
Yeah.
They learn from the pixel, the conversion. It's not that straightforward to set up a conversion event back to Facebook and Google. You would think it is, but I've done it a bunch of times.
It's not.
And it's always off.
Yeah.
It's never there, right? And then on top of that, demystifying the data I see. Like you said, they thought they had 1,600 conversions, but they only had 78. Why is that even a problem? Because these systems have the bad UX, whatever. There's a lot of backstory on why these probably suck. But I feel like it's just too much. And then I think, like when I started the podcast and I started posting on socials, I was like, oh, I should do LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and then I should post the like YouTube shorts. And then I started a newsletter, and then, okay, should I be posting text content on LinkedIn to like promote the podcast? I've just talked about 7 channels.
And 7 different.
And I'm not even
content,
good at any of these 7 channels. And so from that perspective, I think it's a lot and too much, right? So going back to that, you mentioned the 80-20 of like, here's the 3 things you should focus on, right? Once you've mentioned those 3 things, what is the next step, right? Let's assume and go down this path for a second of like, hey, I'm going to run ads myself, right? You figure out the market, the messaging, who you want to target, what your offer landing page is, what the form is. What is the next step? What are some tools, tactics, tips you have to like build the creatives? What is a good starting point for how many ad formats should I start? And maybe if you want to pick a budget or not, talk about, okay, spend $10 a day, spend $20 a day, spend $30 a day. Maybe if you're B2B, do LinkedIn. If you're B2C, maybe Facebook works. If like, let's demystify that and just give someone a starter pack. What should they do? Where should they start?
Okay, so I've got a few levels to this.
Yeah.
One is, what's the difference between paid social and paid search?
Okay.
So paid search, which is Google and now increasingly TikTok, and is Bing as well. It works this way, which is I, as an advertiser, I'm like, hey, when somebody searches for this keyword, podcast in Austin, plants, when they're searching, I believe that they have intent to maybe make a purchase or maybe find some more information. I want to be up top, and Google, why don't you put these ads in front of them? When I do that, the great thing is I know that I'm getting my message in front of people who have intent to do something right now. Maybe intent to buy, maybe intent to become a lead, whatever that is. That's great. You want to get in front of people who are searching for your thing right now. That's the great part. The con of that is you're limited by a search volume. So if only 1,000 people search yellow fake plant or podcast studio in Austin a month, you're never going to get in front of more than 1,000 people. So pro for Google ads or paid searches, there's intent. Con is you're capped. Paid social. The thing with paid social is you want to target men between 60 and 70 who like running still. Good for them. You can do that, but you're interrupting them, and you have to show them a message which gets their attraction. So the pro is you're not limited by anything. You can get in front of anybody on the planet on LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and show them a message, but they have lower intent because you don't know if they're searching for it. Even if I say, hey, I'm selling baseball hats, show me an interest of people interested in baseball hats or interested in baseball, you don't know if they actually have intent. So that's the highest level difference. Paid search is more like intent-based, but lower volume. Paid social is targeting-based, but it has unlimited volume there. That would be the first layer.
Got it. Before we go into the other levels you have, I was just making a note so I don't interrupt you. But, when you say paid intent, how do I figure out those intent terms? Because I'm going to be bidding on those like, search queries, right? How do I know what someone's searching for?
It's a great question. Well, the good thing is the internet tracks everything.
Okay.
So you literally have tools that you pay $20 a month, or you can also use ChatGPT, which is $20 a month, and be like,
or pay you.
And be like, here's what I want to sell. Give me 50 search terms. Or you go to a tool and say, pull out search terms from this landing page, from this website. It'll
okay,
give
got
you
it,
100 or 200 search terms. Then you put it into a tool, and you can ask the tool, hey, and you can ask ChatGPT too, how many people search for this a month? It will tell you.
Okay,
so
got
if
it,
you're
got it.
looking at something which is below a few thousand, you're very niche, so you have a market, but it's small. If you're looking at, I was talking to somebody about selling gold. That gets searched 500,000 times a month. So you have a huge market, and the data will tell you. The platforms will
Got
tell
it.
you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So there's ways to backtrack there. It's not.
100%.
It's not go and ask people, hey, what are you searching? Okay.
Exactly. yeah.
Because the first time came across Paid a couple of years ago, people are like, oh, you have to figure out search intent. I was like, how will I know what someone is thinking about in searching, right? Because everyone's thinking about something different, right? Maybe someone's searching professional room with mics in Austin, right? Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, that's probably someone is searching that. But that demystifies, okay, searching. What's the next level? There's paid search, paid social.
Yes.
What's the
next level is there's only three kind of things you can run ads on, like 3 kinds of ads. Number 1, it is a lead magnet, which is, hey, I'm going to give you this free thing. Give me your email. That is literally every PDF, every webinar, every downloadable, and then I'll send you emails to sell you, or I'll call you in 15 minutes with appointment setters. That's number 1. A lot of companies do that. The great thing is you can get leads for super cheap. We're talking about $10, $5, $20, $15. But the intent always isn't there. So you have to go through a lot of volume to get to the person who's like, oh yeah, I downloaded this thing and I actually consumed it and I kind of trust you. I will buy it from you maybe.
Got it.
So that's number 1. Number 2 is purchase now. So if you're looking at D2C, if you're looking at e-commerce, that is literally every single thing that you're advertising for below than $100. Buy right now. That's it. And then you have sort of what's new right now, which is demand gen. Have you heard of that?
I mean, I know what demand gen is, but I don't think I know what you mean when that's
So demand gen is this idea, which is way more popular in B2B SaaS. It's not appropriate to e-commerce to a certain extent. It's like if you've got a certain audience, let's say compliance officers in accounting firms and service firms. If you make them an offer of buy right now, they don't trust you. They're not going to buy like a $50,000 service from you. That's not going to happen. If you give them a lead magnet, they might download, but the data shows that actually they don't turn into opportunities. It's like an email. I can find their email with like $20 a month. It's easy. If I do demand gen, what I'm doing is I'm showing them valuable content over a few months. And then every single person who indicates that they're interested by engaging with my content,
I retarget.
I retarget and I show them bottom of the funnel content. That's demand gen.
Okay. I don't know who I've seen something about this online. Someone wanted to sell to this particular company. They found the CEO and buyers of this company and just targeted them with ads and billboards in their area and on their drive to work from home.
Oh,
and I was like, it was a hyper targeted effort of I want this 2 people to see that I want to sell to them. How do I just engulf their world and just say my name enough times so that when you're like, hey, what is this? Why do I keep seeing Moby's name everywhere?
Yeah.
Maybe I should go figure out who this person is, right? And so I feel like that's an extreme use case, but theoretically it is possible if you're motivated enough and have a little bit of cash to spend on figuring that out.
True.
I think it's very possible.
Imagine if you're a podcast studio and you advertise in a 10-mile radius. I mean, that's not going to, you're going to be spending $500 a month, $1,000 a month. You can dominate that market.
So that's the 3 kinds of ads. Is there a level to this of the kind of creative on each of these, or?
Yeah. So Google Ads is almost always text. You'll maybe see some images. Let's say I was doing this last night. Used Honda Accord. So you see images. So it's mostly text, but you can add images. On TikTok, it's almost video. On Facebook and Instagram, you can get by with images. It works really well. On LinkedIn, you can also get by with images. Videos are nice to have on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. They're a must-have on TikTok. But generally, you could go with the basics. Like, I am now spending, in the last 15 days, my 2 biggest clients were probably spent $25,000 this month. It's 90% of what we do is images, Canva images, and it makes them money. So you do not need a designer. Sorry, designers.
There's so many business gurus who talk about build Canva templates and use that for lead gen. And then there's just one guy who talks about building a YouTube strategy around building an agency to sell Canva templates.
Nice.
So instead of making the Canva template, make a YouTube video on how to use this Canva template to run Google Ads for restaurants, like super hyper targeted.
That's pretty good.
And then the upsell is the agency.
Yeah.
Or the free option is the Canva template.
Yeah.
And then you're just building this long ad.
I need to run that ad. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So that's now we talk about creatives, right? Again, I'm trying to
Break it down.
pull out the 80-20, right? So someone started out, you mentioned the kinds of ads, you mentioned the channels, paid social, paid search. Are you able to bucket who should do what kind of company should do what kind of ad, and be like, don't worry about if you're B2B SaaS, just do LinkedIn text ads. If you're e-com starting out, just do Instagram, TikTok. Is it possible to give one or two scenarios there of just like, we talked about all this, all these frameworks are great, but again, if I do the permutation combinations of paid social, paid search, the three formats you mentioned, within those formats you have all these options, I've now probably come up with 100 permutation combinations.
Yeah.
So again, one step back, I've just started, and feel free to just use some buckets or whatever you want to generalize in. And if we can do one or two different personas, like, hey, you're a B2B SaaS company, here's what you should be trying as your first set of ads.
Got it. So Google Ads is best for local companies.
Okay.
Or people who can prove that there's a lot of search volume. So if I'm selling gold, or if I'm selling warehouse inventory management software, then that makes sense. It doesn't matter if it's B2C, it doesn't matter if it's B2B. The thing with Google Ads is though, like,
what if it's B2B2C?
Correct. If people search for it, if 5,000 people search for it in a month in the US, you have a market. The great thing about Google Ads is, let's say you spend $1,000 in like a month. If you spent that, it will tell you how many people click out of how many people see it, and most importantly, with how much you've spent, how many times you showed up in search. So you can tell, am I spending too little? Am I spending too much? The data after you spend it, because you can only get data after you spend some money, it will tell you if you should spend more or not. Google Ads, people say you should start off with that. I don't know. I have a bias against Google Ads, maybe because I don't do it as much. But Google Ads is a decent place to start. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. And is this a decent place for local companies or just anyone in general?
Anyone.
Okay.
If there's search volume, yes, you should do it. For example, I was talking to that gold company. I was like,
search volume on search intent.
So let's say there's 10 keywords that a market searches for. A tool will tell you these
how
are
many
all
people are searching.
And they will also kind of categorize it informational, transactional. Take it with a grain of salt, but like guess, like, are these people who are looking for fake plants actually wanting to buy? Probably. Or somebody who searches, how does a Honda Accord work? That's probably informational versus transactional.
Got it.
But used Honda Accord, that's transactional.
Got it.
So Google Ads is a decent place to start. I have a bias against it.
Okay, that's fine. And so, in general, anyone, that's a good starting point.
If there's search volume.
Okay, and you were mentioning LinkedIn.
I think LinkedIn you should only do if you have a very, very, very well-defined target market. That's it. Let's say chief legal officers in these 500 companies that you hand selected, or accountants specifically in firms that have more than 200 people to 500 people in Houston, Texas. Or I'm doing this right now. People who are directors of operations and directors of cultivations in cannabis farms in Germany, US, like whatever states, and Canada. Or people who are heads of performance optimization in retail companies.
So you're talking about ICP when you know what your customer's persona is.
Yes.
And you're able to define it relatively precisely. You're saying LinkedIn is a good platform to target them.
Yes. Only if it's high ticket.
Okay.
If you're selling something
define
less
high
than
ticket. Give me a number.
5,000. Like
5,000 or more.
5,000 or more.
Got it. Okay.
Like there's somebody who we're now spending, 30, 40K a month on Facebook ads, and they're like they set up a call with me and said, we want to do LinkedIn. I'm like, yes, you can find your job title.
No one's
like,
buying your $5.
I'm like, yeah, it's $100. It's not worth it. The CPMs are way too high. LinkedIn charges 4 times more to show the same ad. And for the majority of businesses, unless you have a very, very well-defined target market and you have a funnel that works really well, LinkedIn is not worth it unless it is super precise. For example, I can't find directors of operations and directors of cultivation in cannabis companies on Facebook. I just can't do it. VPs of demand generation, directors of demand generation, there's a couple of thousand of them in the US. I cannot find them on Facebook and Instagram. There's a way to do it, but it's not that great. So LinkedIn is for the super
At that
target.
point, is it even worth the effort? Is the juice worth the squeeze at that point? Probably not on Facebook.
Probably not. So LinkedIn, I'd say only if you have a very well-defined market and you have some cash.
Yeah.
You're spending $5,000 a month and you can wait. For the majority of businesses, Facebook and Instagram is fantastic.
Okay.
Especially now,
Any kind of business, any industry?
generally. Unless it's very medical, then you can't advertise a lot.
Yeah.
I literally had this conversation yesterday. Or if it's
regulated.
Regulated, yeah. Like finance products. You can still do it, but it's harder. But Facebook and Instagram, the cheapest, the biggest, especially with Instagram, and like it's 14 years old, that platform, and like there's money there.
Okay. Cool. And we talked about targeting ICP, quick segue there. How do you define segments? How precise should someone be when defining a segment?
Yeah.
And so maybe we can get to that in a second. So we talked about what platforms you should use. Quickly, let's talk about budget. You mentioned you should have a little bit of cash to spend on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Are you able to give some rough dollar values to what is a good amount of money to spend on these platforms when you just start out to understand whether it's working for you or not?
Yeah.
And maybe a second level of detail within that is what numbers are you looking at? And let's limit to these three. You said Facebook, you said Google search, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Let's go one by one, talk about roughly budget. And what are you looking at? Are you looking at CTRs? Are you looking at impressions? Are you looking at full conversion? Are you looking at a bottom funnel conversion?
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Oh, that's a good question. Big question. Okay, I'll break it down. Budget.
Russell
I'll break it down
Brunson.
by-
Russell Brunson.
I know. So any app platform in the world, I think to get any sort of data, you need to spend $1,000.
Okay.
Just one time. Just to be like, what's CTR? How many people see my ads? How many times they see my ad? How many of these people am I reaching? So $1,000 you have to spend on any single platform to test it out. I just started a test today that will end in 14 days to understand if one audience works. I'm spending $1,500. That is definitive. I can be like, I'm done after this, if knowing that it works or not. So $1,000.
And this is across the board, the three you're talking about.
And you should be spending $1,000 just to learn.
Got it.
Generally, you can make money if your funnel isn't horrible and you're working with someone decent, $2,000 as a starting point. It could be lower. I started with somebody $500 because they're like, we don't have any money. I'm like, okay, so start with $500, then we scale to $1,500. But I'd say $1,500 to $2,000 is a good place to start, and prepare to lose money or not make any money until you spend $6,000.
Okay.
Depending on your funnel. It could be like instantly profitable. There's some people which are instantly profitable, but yeah.
So roughly 2K across the board. How many ad formats and creatives am I trying with this 2K?
Good question. Google is default. So let's say you have 5 keywords you're advertising on. It will tell you, hey, write 5 headlines and write 15 descriptions and add a few images. Yeah, they'll figure it out. It's their job. That's it. On LinkedIn and Facebook, it's like my immigration lawyer says to everything that I ask. Sorry, Jason. Best immigration lawyer I know. It depends.
Jason, sponsor this podcast.
Yeah. I'll have to send it. So I think it comes down to testing. At $2,000 a month, you likely cannot test multiple audiences. What you can test is multiple offers or headlines. So let's say I'm doing a Facebook ad or even a LinkedIn ad, and I have $2,000 to spend. I'm going to pick one audience with that $2,000 a month, and I'm going to show them very similar looking ads, the same creative, it doesn't matter, but it's going to be different headlines. That's my approach. And I test which one of them do they click on more, which indicates this is the messaging they resonate with. For example, we were doing this for real estate. It was the best lead gen companies in 2024, close more deals, seller leads for $200 a month, different things. I learned that the best headline after spending $2,000 was the top 10 best real estate companies in 2024. We're now spending a lot on that, only because I have an audience that I'm like, I'll start with that, and there's 4 or 5 different tests of headlines.
So just to recap what you're saying, irrespective of format, I spend roughly $2,000 to test out. So irrespective of, irrespective of channel, you have one audience. Mm-hmm. You're spending roughly $2,000, and you have a couple different title variations, a couple different description variations.
Yes.
Is that a
broad stroke?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Again, I'm just trying to demystify the 80-20 so that if someone listening to this wants to run ads and they don't have the money to pay you, they at least know, okay, here's a good starting point.
Yeah.
And also, I think it's good that you said, hey, be ready to lose $2,000 to $6,000, because I feel like everyone's like, oh, this person talked about how he made $200,000 running Facebook ads.
Yeah.
They'll never mention how much they spent to get there.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of people starting out when they run ads, they're like, well, no one's clicking. Why isn't anyone booking? Why am I not making money? And they'll sort of cut it off before it gains any momentum to gain traction. Because again, no one likes losing money. And maybe losing money is the wrong way to say this, but you're sort of investing in future growth, right? Every time I lose money on something, I just call it my tuition to learn that, right? I didn't go to MBA to learn how to do this. I spent $20,000 to do this, and that's my tuition, right? It's how I justify it. But that's a good starting point. So $2,000, a couple ads. Let's do 2 scenarios.
Yeah.
Let's say this doesn't work. Let's say we spend this $2,000. Before you say that, what data am I looking at? I spend this $2,000. I do these things. What data am I looking at?
I forgot to add one level to it, which is the objective of the campaign. And I'm not talking about strategic objective or business objective. It's literally objective in the ad platform. So Google gives you 2 options. Do you want to optimize for clicks? Do you want to optimize for conversions, which is leads? On Google, usually people do optimize for clicks until they get to 20, 30, 40, 50 conversions. Then they do optimize for conversions.
Got it.
On LinkedIn or Facebook, you're going to say, do I want people to just read this? Then I'll do website visits. Do I want to reach as many people in this audience and then just show them my message in platform? Brand awareness. Do I want people to become leads and actually convert on a page? That is going to be lead generation. Do I want people to purchase? That's going to be purchases. So you're going to define that
intent.
Objective. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it works differently, and they charge you more for purchases. So
the further down funnel you are, the more
they charge. Yeah. We're talking about like $2 versus $80 to show an ad 1,000 times. Yeah, you're like, I've
been there.
Yeah. So on Google, what you want to do is you want to have, there's 2 metrics that matter. Number 1 is CTR, which is click-through rate. Yeah, I forgot for a second there.
Because you say CTR so much.
I'm like, what does it stand for? Like, I learned what CPM was like 2 months ago, which is cost per milli, which is Latin for 1,000. I'm like, oh, that's
so fucking stupid and so confusing.
I know. So on Google, what you want to do is you want to be above 5% CTR. What that means is 5 out of every 100 people click. That means that people see your headlines and descriptions as relevant to what they're searching for. Because Google will show you exactly what they're searching for to see your ad, even if it's different from the keyword. They'll show you they searched for a green fake plant in Austin, and this is how many people saw it, this is how many people clicked on it. You want to be above 5% CTR because that indicates your ads are resonating with the audience. And then you want to be above 1% conversion rate, which is out of 100 people that go to your page, 1 of them converts. That's it. 5% CTR and 1% conversion rate on landing pages as a baseline.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. That's on Google or across the board?
That's Google.
Okay.
On Facebook, so let's do, which one do you want to do first? Facebook, LinkedIn?
LinkedIn.
Okay, so LinkedIn. If you are doing brand awareness, which is what I recommend on LinkedIn, like do not do lead generation. You'll be paying $1,500 a lead, $3,000 a lead. Please don't do lead generation on LinkedIn unless it's to a very warm audience. Then you'll see better results. But what you want to see is you have defined an audience size of, let's say, 10K. You want to be spending enough that there's a metric in LinkedIn, which is audience penetration. out of the 10,000 people that you have selected, how many of them see your ads a month? You want to be above 30% or 20%.
Got it.
20 to 40, that's pretty good. So audience penetration, 20 to 40%, you want to see that. And then on brand awareness, you want to see a 0.5% CTR. So that means out of every 200 people, 1 clicks. Every single time I have seen people click at 1% CTR on LinkedIn, 0.8, anything above 0.5, people become leads over time, even if it's brand awareness.
Nice.
So 20 to 40% audience penetration, and you want to be above 0.5 CTR.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's LinkedIn brand awareness.
That's LinkedIn.
LinkedIn lead gen, no. Big no.
It can work. Like I'm running a LinkedIn lead generation campaign right now to a few thousand people who are warm after watching some dude's videos. His content is fantastic. He knows his market. We're doing lead generation ads. The CTR is 1%, and our lead cost is 28 to 34, which is great for LinkedIn on a lead generation form. But he's got his systems dialed in.
Okay, got it.
I wouldn't do it.
Okay.
If it wasn't.
And what about Facebook and Instagram?
So Facebook, I'd say there's few things. There's obviously cost per lead, which Facebook will tell you. A cost per lead for somebody might be 5, and they're like, this is okay or good. For somebody it might be 50, they're like, this is amazing. For somebody it might be 80, they're like, this is horrible. For somebody it might be 200, that might be horrible. For example, I'm willing to pay $150, $200 easily for a qualified lead. I'll do it. For some people, they're like, that's horrible. I'm going to get leads for $20.
But if you're selling them a $10,000 product, I mean,
exactly. It all
all day,
depends
every
on the,
day, right?
yeah, lifetime value. I'd say the metrics that matter most is resonance, but this is my math, so somebody reading it might be like, no. CTR should be above 1.5, and link click-through rate should be above 1%.
What's the difference?
So link is just like anywhere. They're clicking on the see more button, they're clicking on the comments,
okay.
they're clicking around, they might be watching a video. They're just engaging with the end. Link CTR, if it's above 1%, you've got a great ad on Facebook, and then it's the landing page's job to like actually convert.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So we talked about budget, ad format across Google, LinkedIn, Facebook. On each of these, we talked about what numbers they should be ballpark looking at. Of course, disclaimer, if you do this and you lose money, none of us are liable.
Yeah,
But
I'll audit your ads.
yeah.
That's my favorite thing. Sorry, I
Yeah.
love auditing ads because it's so much fun.
Nice. I was at Indeed a while ago, and we used to, people would post jobs on our platform, and we would sometimes have to moderate jobs because like you're using the wrong keyword. Well, like someone says boob and the thing is like, why are you saying that? But
Job description.
we blocked this person that had redhead in their thing, but it had to do with a costume company, and that the person, there was a need to use the word redhead, but for whatever reason, our system had blocked it because redhead was, well, anyways. But we used to see, like you're saying, audit ads. Every now and then we would go through the jobs and see what was posted, and some of these jobs were just hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we talked about that. We talked about CTR. We talked about what metrics you're looking at broadly, rough strokes, to get a baseline idea, right? Let's go a level deeper, right? So now I'm doing all of this.
Yeah.
Link through rate, click, copy. I can use ChatGPT, whatever. I get to this point. Let's talk about funnels.
Yeah.
Now, all of these ads are making people click a link to get to a website. What do people need to do there to be set up for success? Because let's say hypothetically someone knocked it out of the park in this first part of it, but their website is
It happens.
fucking emoji. Well, I don't know. What is the 80-20 to what does that landing page need?
Yeah.
And then if you want to get into funnels, you mentioned bottom funnel ad, you mentioned top of funnel ad.
Yeah.
There's so many kinds of funnels.
Yeah.
Hopefully I can get Russell Brunson on here one day. But what is the 80-20 there about the thing?
Russell Brunson would be a great one. Yeah. So I'll say that, which is landing pages, but also just reaffirm that number, which is on Google Ads, if you're at 5% CTR and your landing page and you're at 0.2% conversion, that means your landing page sucks. If you're on LinkedIn and you have a 0.5% CTR on your
Ad.
and then your audience penetration is decent, and like you're reaching the right people because you can see who's seeing your ads, and you're not getting leads after some time, that means your landing page sucks. If Facebook, if your link click-through rate is 1% and your general click-through rate is 1.5%, but you're not getting leads, your landing page sucks. So that's a good thing. Like you can see the numbers.
Yeah.
And
you can see where the problem is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't think you should, unless you have website pages, which are very, very good and specific, you should just make a landing page for every single ad or every single ad group or campaign. They could share, but landing pages are for ads. So if you do a Google search, you will always see this big, long landing page like discover.company.com and a UTM parameter. They're just tracking everything. So on a landing page, regardless of B2B or B2C, I'd say above the fold, a headline, which really speaks to the ad itself. Like if I'm clicking on an ad which says...
Define above the fold for people.
Oh, how do I define? Like when you're seeing it on the computer or on your phone, it's the fold is what you see without scrolling.
Yeah.
I've never had to do that, but that's a great question.
I heard this relatively recently.
Yeah.
And I mean, I fundamentally understand what it is because it's basically people are talking about the zero friction.
Yeah.
What are people seeing? And above the fold, based on how you build your site, could be different across different screen sizes if you don't build it correctly. But again, that's like a secondary nuance that we'll get into in episode 2.
I can't do websites. Like people reach out to me about websites and I refer them to people. But yes, great question. Above the fold. So anything you see without scrolling should have a headline that speaks to something similar to what they're searching for or the ad itself. So people come to that page. They're like, okay, this is related. And then on a B2B page, you're looking at what you do in the headline and kind of an explainer. It could be a benefit. And then you have logo wall, which is classic, just to be like, hey, we're a real company. Then a Z pattern, like image, text, image, text, which is like benefit.
This is below the fold?
This is below the fold.
Yeah.
Everything now is below the fold. And literally a Z pattern of like 3 benefits of like working with you, not features, benefits that they get. And then an image which is relevant to it, and then some text. And then if you have testimonials, fantastic. Do that. And that's really it. A headline, above the fold, headline, subheadline, maybe an image, logo wall just to show credibility, and then benefits that you can 3 or 4 or 5. That's it, no more than that. And then you have testimonials anywhere you can. That's fantastic. The more, the better. And then a form. That's it.
Okay. So that's the basics of a landing page, right?
Yes.
Now, what is a funnel? And who should be making funnels?
Yeah.
Should someone starting out worry about a funnel, or should they just stick to a landing page?
Yeah. Great question. Starting off, you should stick with a landing page. And I'll talk about this concept of qualification, which is when I'm running ads, let's say I'm selling, I don't know why I keep coming back to this example, running shoes to dads at 35 to 55. And I'm selling them $300 shoes. A lot of people aren't qualified to buy that because that's expensive.
Are you Nike Zoom flies? What are you selling?
Exactly. They're expensive. So I have to qualify these people to be like, are they going to buy? The question becomes, where do I qualify them in the funnel? Do I call that out in the ad and say, these are $300? Or like, do I hint at it, premium? Or when they're coming to the website, I talk about the price. Or when in the form, I say, how much do you usually spend on running shoes? Or I don't have any qualification in the entire process and don't tell them about the price, which is my biggest qualifying factor. I have to qualify on the back end with an email, with a phone conversations. It's a choice where to qualify. The starting point is...
Quick sidebar.
Yeah.
Define what qualification of a lead means.
Yeah.
What is an MQL?
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, this reminds me of like, what is an MQL? I don't know. So... marketing gets a lot of flack for it, well-deserved, which is MQL is a marketing qualified lead, which is marketing has said, this is qualified. What marketing does a lot of times, it says, this person clicked on an ad, submitted a form. That means they're MQLs, they're qualified. Sales will look at it and say, in B2B context, this company is too small. They don't have the budget, not even the budget. They just aren't in the right industry. Wrong job title, not the decision maker. This is not an SQL. And sales and marketing will fight about this which one is, do you want more leads, which is MQLs, or do you want less qualified opportunities, which is SQLs, less qualified leads, which is SQLs? I don't have an answer.
So,
break down the stages. Okay.
yeah, so like, what is a qualified lead? Because I think what I'm trying to get at is, I do all this, I run all these ads, I get all these people coming to my website, but nobody's buying.
Yeah.
So at that point, that means that these people are coming here, so this ad format is working. But if no one is buying, that means it's not working for the right people. And so I gotta, like, to your point, you have to qualify this person to be someone who is willing to purchase whatever you're selling them.
Got it.
Now, like you said, what does that mean? What is qualification? And where can you do qualification? Like you said, I could do it anywhere. Where can you do it? What's a recommended place on?
Yeah.
Like before the ad, after the ad, whatever. Right.
Got it. So I'll break down the qualification stages, which is somebody's a lead. And once they submit something, regardless of how much information you ask in a form, they are either disqualified because we look at the form, we're like, this is not the right person. They're using an @gmail.com, wrong job title, whatever that is. That is just automatic. Or we have a conversation with them and they become qualified. We're like, these are the kind of people that buy our stuff and we want to do business with them. Now, as the conversation deepens, they'll become an opportunity, which is like, this is an opportunity for us to make some money, which could be a purchase order, could be a quote, could be literally them saying, we want this, but not right now. And from qualified, they go to close. This is the simplified version. They go to close one, which is customer, or close lost. We lost this. So it goes from lead to qualified or disqualified, and then qualified goes to opportunity or nothing, and then the opportunity goes from close one to close lost.
Got it. Okay.
And qualification, I have no idea. It depends. For somebody, right now, our qualification is in the targeting, where we're targeting job titles. That's our qualification, and then we do some more qualification. For somebody else, we have zero qualification except some high-level targeting, and all the qualification is done once they become a lead. We send them an email to a Calendly, and then we ask 3 questions. If those questions are not, if their answer is not good, we're like disqualified.
Tell them fuck off.
Yeah, we qualify them on the back end. So in the start, I would decrease the qualification and give it to sales or the founder. It's frustrating, but then you learn when to qualify.
Okay, got it. So for someone starting out, don't worry about qualification right now. Once the lead gets to you and you're trying to confirm, look at who's coming, make a decision there, and then make adjustments to this if you need to do it, right?
Right. You're great at recaps, yes.
I've been trying to do them because someone mentioned that I should do that because I don't know whether someone listening understood what you're saying.
Yeah.
So me trying to recap is also internalize what you're saying, but maybe you just read it. But
yeah, I can't imagine how much you learn all the time.
Only if I did something with that.
Nice.
Cool. So we talked about funnel, landing page, right? Quickly touch on what is a funnel.
Yeah.
If I think there's probably 100 different kinds of funnel. Tell me the top 3.
Okay, what kinds of funnel? Okay, so that's kind of goes to the offer.
What is a funnel? Just before we even go.
Multi-step process to convert somebody who comes to your website into a customer. So that goes from lead to qualified or disqualified to opportunity to close one, close lost.
Got it.
That is the multi-step, and everybody's funnel is slightly different.
Yeah.
The standards are lead magnet funnel, where somebody comes, they download something, and then they become a lead. You call them or you email them over time, and you try to get them to buy something or hop on a call.
Makes sense.
Or it's like direct book a call right now, which works for some people. People do that. And other funnels there's some
like webinar funnels, VSL funnels.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
Got it. Okay.
Weirdly enough, I'm not a funnels guy. I've been to ClickFunnels 3 times, the conference. I just find the people very sleazy.
I mean, yeah. At the core of it, if it works, it works. I mean, I know people who are like 50-50 on Tony Robbins. I know people who are like, I would die by this. I know people who are like, all a sham. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think there's a market for everyone. But, I mean, ClickFunnels is a fucking $200 million company. I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, and he's a savant. He's amazing.
I have all his books. I haven't read them all. But in one of his books, he talks about how his book is part of his funnel.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm like, that's just a very meta, like.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, cool. We talked about ad formats, talked about budget, how someone should start. you mentioned this one thing, be ready to invest at least $6,000 before you see a return. Why is that? So in this example, we talked about a $2,000 budget. Where does that 6 number come from? And what is this being spent on? Is this being spent on channels, ad formats, creative, targets, audiences? Where does this 6K number come from?
It's definitely out of my butt. And it is the fact that it is better to run ad. I made that higher than it needs to be, only because it's better to go into building a platform, building a channel like this, and saying, I'm going to have to invest a lot in it. You might be profitable at $1,500. You might be profitable lead one. You might be profitable at $20,000. So I can't say that, but it's always a bad idea to go into ads if you're about to go broke.
Makes sense.
Yeah, sometimes it works. Look at Hermosi. I put stuff on a credit card and suddenly I'm making $100,000 a day. I'm like, okay, I wish. But usually for businesses that doesn't work. But
I mean, in hindsight, it worked for him, so he says that story.
Yeah.
But like in reality, how many people are doing that and coming out ahead as a Hermosi? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I did that when I was testing a new market. I didn't know the market. I didn't understand what they cared about. I ran a bad ad, really well edited video, didn't really have an offer, and I lost money.
Nice.
I lost $2,000. So I'd say the reason I say that number is, let's say you're spending $2,000 a month and you get leads for $20, which is super cheap. On Facebook, that's super cheap. That's 100 leads. Now those 100 leads, 50 of them will respond to you and actually talk to you. 30 of them might actually turn up into a meeting, and 15 of them will show up. And then you disqualify 5 of them, and then you have 10 people who were qualified, and let's say
5 of them buy,
or like 2 of them buy, realistically. 2 of them buy.
2% cover,
Yeah, so depending on what you're selling, you just spend $2,000, and that is an optimized campaign. $20 a lead from a specific market, that's pretty good. Let's say you're making $1,500 a person, you made $3,000. That's profitable. To get to that, you'll have to probably test different headlines, which is another $1,000. You have to build automation. And while you're building automation, your ad is still running, so your bucket is leaky. And then you realize, we don't have qualification, people don't show up. It's this entire process which you just have to go through pain over and over again. And as the media buyer, I have to sit there and be like, the client says, this is not qualified, and I have to not take it personally, and I have to tell them, here's the solution here. So it's just a process. I'd say you could be profitable at $3,000, but expect to lose $5,000 to $6,000. Okay. And then you'll be rich forever.
Invest.
Yes. Yeah. Building a predictable channel takes money.
RoAS. What is RoAS?
Yeah.
I hear RoAS more than I feel like I want to hear it, even though I have nothing to do with ads. Should people be worried and thinking about return on ad spend when you start out?
Yeah.
Or no? Or what's your take on this?
Like my immigration lawyer says, it depends. I'd say RoAS is definitely important, because over the long term, an executive or a founder will look at a program like ads and say, is this working for us? Now there's this whole thing about attribution. That's a whole different conversation that I'm not qualified to talk about. But I'd say the metrics that matter, that help you actually break down return on ad spend, is this. What's your cost per lead? And out of your budget, how many leads do you get a month? Out of those leads, how many of them turn into a meeting? What's your show rate? And then how many of them who showed become an opportunity? So you'll get cost per meeting, cost per show and meeting, cost per opportunity, and then from there you're like cost for closed one customer, cost per loss, whatever that is. Once you know those numbers and you know those conversions, then you can say my return on ad spend is this right now, but if I increase my show rate by 10%, that's a big thing. If I increase my meeting rate by 10%, that's a big thing. If I decrease my cost per lead by 5%, that adds up. Or if I have opportunity to close one, I do some retargeting with ads, I will make $20,000 more this quarter. That's a big thing. RoAS matters, but that's just the high level metric.
So if I understand what you're saying you put in some amount of money, people convert, you make some amount of money. Not everything needs you to put in more money, and there are probably improvements you can make in this process to make minor changes. You keep the input as 2K.
Yeah.
And you make 2K. But like you said, I increase show rate by 10%. Now my output is now 2,500. can I do anything else to increase this? Because this is probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, does not need more money investment, probably just time and effort from your existing team to just optimize a process, a sales, copy, whatever, right? From to show rate to close rate, if I increase by 10%, that's probably more internal fixes and doesn't need more input.
Yeah.
So there's options for you to keep a low input, increase output until you dial in this funnel. Once you're dialed in, then you up this number. This number should theoretically go up.
Well said. I think it's just on a high level, solving one problem at a time. We don't have any leads. Our leads aren't opening our emails. Our leads aren't turning into meetings. Our meetings aren't turning into show-and calls. Our show-and calls are not qualified. Our qualified people are not converting. We're not making enough per customer. We need to make more generally. And I think you solve one problem at a time. And ads is more of the front end part, and then somebody like me is done.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully.
How important is the offer?
Define the offer as you're asking the question.
So I'm running ads to sell something, right?
Yeah.
Now, how important is what I'm selling in this process, right? So like what I'm just trying to get at is don't preemptively start running ads before you figured out what is the offer you want to sell via ads. Because to your point, you have traction, customers, referrals, you're making money, but what you're providing is a holistic service or product, right?
Yeah.
You have to translate that into a digestible offer, whether that's sales copy, whether that's a landing page. That's what I'm calling the offer. What I'm calling the offer is, I don't know if summary is the right word, but whatever you're doing that's making money that you're seeing traction on needs to be converted into an offer, and the offer is what you're running ads on and trying to convert people to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. Absolutely. And I appreciate the breakdown because I've read 100 million offers like 3 times. I still don't understand what an offer is. And I'll break it down into 2 things. It's the packaging of what you sell and then what you sell as the product stack. I think the product stack isn't part of the offer itself. It's literally the packaging. So for example, if I'm running ads for a dentist who has a big dental, like he has multiple dental offices.
Is this person Indian? No.
No, he's not.
If he was, he wouldn't spend money on that.
Yeah, that's true. And he would go ahead and actually, anyway, so where was I? Oh my God.
Dental office.
Dental offices. Where was I going with that? What was the question? Oh, packaging.
Offer, packages, yeah.
So he sells a 13-week course. Nobody's
13 or 30?
13.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to look at that and be like, oh, I want a 13-week course for $10,000. Nobody wants that. But his packaging is like how to run a dental practice so it goes without you, or grow like one of the DSOs there. What he sells doesn't change, the packaging changes. And I think the packaging of what you say this is and how beneficial it is to you, that matters. I'm having this argument with my friend who is like human optimization strategist. And I'm like, if you run a human optimization accelerator, you'll get some sales, but people don't know what that is. If you run a stress relief for executives accelerator, that's different packaging. Same exact product stack. It's a different offer, I guess. You'll just make more money because everybody looks at that. They're like, oh, that packaging makes sense to me. So I think of it in terms of product stack and packaging is very important because that's just benefits and it's not features.
Makes sense. I like it. Towards the end.
Yeah.
And I think we've covered a lot. I think we'll probably do an episode 2 at some point and like digest a case study and be like, here's what we're doing. Or maybe I get one of my founder friends on and we just...
Oh, I love that.
We just break down and like do it live for them, right? And then you use that promo and everyone wins. I like to ask a couple quick rapid fire questions. We can wrap it up after that. And what I would like to get from you is, can you recommend 3 resources for, again, someone early who's thinking about going into ads? And a resource could be book, podcast recommendation, blog, article, conference, whatever. Just 3 things that they can go at and look at today and get better in this process.
Yeah, so first one is going to be like every marketer, Alex Ramosi. God. Like
Hormozy, sponsor me. Give me equity in school.
I know. My God, is that blowing up? Hormozy is great because you can just search Alex Hormozy ads and he'll break it down in a great way. I learned Facebook ads from Ben Heath on YouTube.
Okay.
He also has Google ads. He's fantastic. And then I'll put my name on this because I just post on LinkedIn, which is Moby.
Nice.
I'm now posting once a day on paid ads on LinkedIn. So
Nice. Well, we'll link everything. I do this segment where I ask everyone for a question. I ask everyone for a question for my next guest, and so I will ask you a question.
Yeah.
And then you give me a question for whoever my next guest is. Okay. So, what is the one thing that you know you should be doing to unlock growth that you are avoiding?
Oof. That's a good question.
Take your time. There's no...
I just joined this cohort business owners, and it's pretty good. It talks about strategic plan and it builds out in Excel. I love Excel. I could be faster with running ads for myself.
Okay.
I tested something 2 months ago. I liked it. I was doing a lead magnet. I was like, I don't want to do a lead magnet. I got calls from it. I spent $400. I got calls from it. The people weren't right. And I realized my market is different, so I'm probably just going to do ads to directors of marketing and VPs of marketing and probably do like a book a call funnel, which is going to mean my cost per lead is like 150, but that's a qualified lead. So I'd say just accelerate the rate at which I'm learning from my ads. That's it. I don't need to right now, but that's next for me.
Okay. What's your question for my next guest?
Tell us about a recent, and I mean recent 1 to 2 years, failure that you had or a setback and what you learned from it.
Sweet. What can you plug? Where should people reach out? And we'll link everything, but let's plug you again. If anyone made it here, thank you for listening to this hour and
do you listen to your own podcasts?
What?
Do you listen to your own?
Not all of them.
Oh.
I do 2x and I sort of just skim it to get an idea, write an overview, do that sort of stuff.
Smart.
But I haven't sat and analyzed them yet. I want to go back. If I'm correct, you should be episode 52 for me.
Nice, dude.
And so at some point I'm going to do like, hey, here's what I learned.
Ooh.
But yeah.
I love that. Episode 100 from 99 episodes. Plug?
Anything, whatever you want.
Just find me on LinkedIn if you want. And I'm happy to have a conversation and tell you if ads are right for you or
Ad
not.
audits.
What?
Ad audits.
Ad audit, yeah. That's my offer, actually, on ads.
Okay, sweet. Cool, but thank you. I appreciate the time. I know we went a little over, but this will come out in a couple of weeks. We'll give you all the content. You'll get raw footage, and then hopefully we get a lot of views on this.
Let's go. I'll push it out, too.
Thank you.